Welcome back to the Fat Boy Fantasy Football Podcast. It is I, the Fat Boy Victor himself, here with my friend Xavier, like always. How are you doing today, sir? Did anyone pull any crazy April Fool's pranks on you on Monday?
Yes, actually.
What, what happened?
A coworker from work told me that her friend, another one of our coworkers, but they're like best friends, and she was like, "Hey, this I don't want to say names, but she's like, "Hey, my friend, which I know obviously, but she's like, she broke up with her boyfriend and she just confessed her love to you about me. What are you gonna do about it?" And I was like,
What are you
"Okay."
going to do
I was
about
like,
it?
first of all, I don't
Man?
bel first of all, I don't believe it. But second of all, tell her she needs to sit down and really evaluate what she really wants to do if this is true, okay? But yeah, that's about it. I was like, bro.
Spoken like a true gentleman. Ladies, if y'all are listening in, this is my friend Xavier. He's single. And you heard him put down some game, so there you go. Anyways, we come today with a episode leading up to the NFL draft. What we're going to do is basically put tier lists together of where we currently see the NFL landscape per position. We're not including kickers and defenses because if your draft and your dynasty league still use them, they're kind of lame to me in my opinion. That's just me though. But with that being said, today we are going to cover quarterbacks and tight ends. Quarterbacks first, and then tight ends. Just with these two positions, they're a little bit shorter in what you use. Because of course, the quarterbacks you only have 32 starting quarterbacks every week, and then tight ends, it's a desolate. Just after the top eight, they're all the same basically.
It's a
If we're
flat
gonna be
tier.
honest,
Yeah.
yeah. But with that being said, we have designed a couple of tier lists. As I mentioned, first we're gonna start with quarterbacks. Who is your top tier quarterbacks here, Xavier? While you're pulling up the graphic.
So, there we go. All right, I got it over here. I know you can't see it, but you know what? I'll share my
It's fine.
screen for you.
I
Actually,
don't gotta see it.
I will not be able to share my screen for you because
It's fine.
then they won't be able to see it. So, I've got it overlaid in between us right here, but so in my S tier, I've got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts.
That's it. Just the three.
Just the three. For me, I mean, when I do tier lists, it's like they're interchangeable. Um, like anyone in the tier list is, you can kind of do. Like I would go Jalen Hurts one, Patrick Mahomes one, and I wouldn't be mad.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's just me though.
I feel it. Um. So if you had to choose a one, two, three, would you have a one, two, three,
Yeah,
or
and when I designed this one, I really um tried to rank them as I went, but I was like, I have to put tiers, but I tried, so I would do Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. That's what I would do.
all right? So my top tier actually has five quarterbacks in it. Number one, Josh Allen, just for the dual threat ability. Even with
Hmm.
him losing Stephon Diggs today in a trade to Houston. To those that are listening that may have not have heard it and you've been living under a rock, Stephon Diggs is not in Buffalo. He is now in H Town. Uh, First Josh Allen for his dual threat ability, then Patrick Mahomes. Then I actually have Lamar Jackson at three,
Mm,
just because of the dual threat ability.
I like that.
I like the high ceiling plays. Then I actually have C.J. Stroud over Jalen Hurts.
Hmm.
That might be the hot take of the day. Then I have Jalen Hurts at five, and they're all in my S tier. But I would look at you crazy if I did have to make a tier break. It's probably going to be between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. So I feel like if you do have the one-on-one in a startup draft, you're probably picking one of those two players, or maybe a Justin Jefferson, C.D. Lamb, maybe now at this point, just if you want that premier wide receiver number one. But it's either you're taking Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or a top 10 wide or a top three wide receiver at this point. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but what's your opinion on the Jesh S tier?
Um, I like it. I like the Lamar Jackson at three a lot. Actually, I was debating myself whether to do that, but I didn't want to feel like doing a. I didn't want to feel like
Let's
being out
just
there.
I've in my personal opinion, we'll see how the tush push goes without Jason Kelsey. With them having that former rugby coach there, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I still think he's going to score double-digit rushing touchdowns, which is going to be the huge part of his upside. But I was listening into a couple other podcasts, and someone had mentioned that 24% of his points came off of rushing touchdowns alone.
Hmm.
So,
I heard
out
that
of
too.
the five quarterbacks that I listed, it's just who has the weakest arm out of the five, and that's Jalen Hurts. So if there's ever a game where he can't run the ball or he can't do a tush push, there's other games where you see him score like 12, 14 points because he can't. He has. I don't think he's thrown for 400 yards yet. That's just my humble opinion. But in your A tier, who you got in the next tier?
The start of my A tier is Lamar Jackson. So that's like my number four. Then the next is C.J. Stroud, and then Joe Burrow at the bottom of the A tier, just because of the injury along with the surgery. Don't know how he's gonna bounce back right away, or
Right.
So, but I have C.J. Stroud firmly in my top five
Hmm.
after the trade today.
Right. Well, yeah, especially with him, you have Nico, you have Stefan, you have Tank, you have Schultz. You also have Mixon, if anyone ever
Yeah.
remembers that. He just has weapons galore. The Houston Texans are almost turning into the 49ers at this point. A little more age on them, but they have a young quarterback. They got a running back that's kind of been a proven asset before. Of course, not on the McCaffrey level, but they probably have an arguable top 10 wide receiver, two arguable possible wide receiver ones. With Tank, I'm kind of skeptical on him just because of his height, but he was able to ball last year. We'll see if he could do it coming off of the leg break. See if he still has trust in that leg. If you don't mind, go ahead going into your next tier because my A tier had six quarterbacks in it personally.
So my B tier is my biggest tier. This is the one that I spent the most time on. I have Kyler Murray at the top of the tier. Then I have Caleb Williams right behind him, Jordan Love right behind him, Anthony Richardson right behind him. And like I said, bro, this tier was really hard. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is pretty interchangeable. Even at like the top of the B tier for me, everything's interchangeable. And after
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Richardson, I have Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, and then at the end of the B tier, I have Jaden Daniels.
So you went ahead and put the rookies in there. I haven't put the rookies in there myself, but if I did have to put Caleb in there, he'd probably be at my wide receiver quarterback, probably about 10 on mine because at six I have Joe Burrow at the top of my A tier. Then Anthony Richardson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and then Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
So these are basically my top 11 quarterbacks. If I had to put Caleb Williams in there, I'd probably put him in there between Jordan Love and Kyler Murray. Xavier knows this about me. I am a Kyler Murray hater. Uh, I just think that he gets injured a lot, and it just the best ability is availability. If I'm going to invest at this point, you're looking at high second, maybe high fourth round pick in a startup draft. By the time, actually, I take that back. This is just the entire second round of quarterbacks here, right? Especially for doing super flex, because Kyler Murray goes in the second, maybe the third, if you're lucky. But
He always goes early to mid second.
yeah, but I'm not that big on Kyler Murray. I have no shares of him. I have sold everything I have of Kyler Murray. I'm out. I'll let someone else take the fall on that one. But
I am here. Hello, I bought. I have bought.
he said he's buying in. I'm selling out. We're a great combination here. The biggest question mark I believe for this tier is Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like he is a quarterback that could either end up being QB1
Yeah.
or QB 31 because he got hurt.
Yep. That's why I put him
Um,
in the middle of mine.
because like even with the games that he had played the full game, he didn't have Jonathan Taylor in any of them, so we don't know what that backfield dynamic is going to look like. And then on top of that, he likes to run, so that's what could make him a QB1, like the QB1, I should say. But we got to see him stay healthy. It's the same way CJ Stroud. People can argue that CJ Stroud shouldn't belong in that same tier with the Josh Allen's and the Patrick Mahomes and the Lamar Jacksons, just because he's only done it for 1 year. But it's hard to ignore all the weapons that Houston has invested into. At this point, they're saying this is our Super Bowl window, Super Bowl or bust now at this point. So
Yeah.
we will see how that plays out. But what's your take on Justin Herbert at this point? It's like we don't know
I
who's going to be wide receiver one.
I really think they're gonna go out there and get an offensive weapon like Malik Neighbors or Brock Bowers,
Mm-hmm.
if not Roma Dunze. So people are selling him at what I think is his low before the season. Obviously, if they don't, which I don't see them doing, he will go
Mm-hmm.
lower. But this is basically his low point. Like, why would you sell at his low point after they got rid of Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and then you got QJ sitting there all by himself? But like, I would be holding on to Justin Herbert right now. I would not be
Correct.
looking to sell him for 70 cents on the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Well, especially on top of that, he also doesn't have a. It's a question of running back. Yeah, they have Gus Edwards, who did play well in Baltimore, but they're talking about him being the bell cow, every down kind of back. But can he even handle that?
Yeah.
That's another thing that we have to look at too, with especially with him. Like, who's going to catch the ball? Who's going to run the ball? Who's going to block for him? Because the Chargers are a shell of themselves that they were last year.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm holding on to Justin Herbert because I still believe that the Chargers will plan on making moves, whether it's a trade, whether it's trading up, trading down, trading for a player, whatever the case may be. But new coach in, maybe even Justin Herbert gets traded. Who knows? It could
Yeah.
get real crazy this season. But then one more question I do have, because I have Dak at the top of my beat here. Um, are you more in on Dak because of the weapons he has? And if you did have him on your team, would you look at trying to sell him for a younger lateral tier player?
Um. Wow, that's a good one. I think so. He only has one more year left on his contract,
Mm-hmm.
and I
The
don't know.
entire Cowboys seems like they have 1 year left on the contract at
That's
this
what I'm saying,
point.
dude. And Dak Prescott's coming off a really good fantasy season, a really good, like, what was he, like QB3, right? Something like
I
that.
mean, he was almost MVP. Like,
Yeah. But, it's just that, like, Jerry Jones isn't, it seems like he's not bought into the team at all. Like,
mm,
he's out on the team. He's like checked out, or he's like half foot, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Oh, we're all in. And then let's go, everyone. But it just seems like they're just trying to ride it out and get to the next generation or the next era of quarterback at Cowboys.
mm,
But
what's
dang, dude, it's hard to tell
like?
because Dak
Would you
Prescott.
sell like just straight up? Would you sell Dak for like a Jordan Love?
um
Just so
Straight
you're trying to
up.
reset the clock a little
Wow,
bit, straight up.
dude, I don't care about age for Dak Prescott. He's only 30. For me, it's the contract, and like if you sat here and told me he has a 2 year contract, I'm like, just give me Dak Prescott. Like I wouldn't even think about it. But to sit here right here today, I have Jordan Love above Dak Prescott. So yeah, I would do that.
Yeah. Well, it's like for me personally, I have Kyler Murray just above Dak Prescott, so I know you would trade Kyler for Dak in a heartbeat,
Yeah,
or trade Dak for Kyler, I should say.
yeah.
Um,
And for
I
me,
mean Justin
it's
Herbert, you probably do quickly.
yeah. For Kyler Murray, it's more of the rushing upside. Like that's why I have him so high is because of that. And we could sit here and say it's the ACL and all that too, and he's coming back from it still. But whenever he came back, he seemed like I didn't see much rust, if any. Like he was still performing at QB1 stats whenever he came back. So, but you're right though. I mean, if he's injured, then he does deserve to go down. That's just how it is.
But yeah, in the last couple seasons. So last year he played only 8 games. 2022 he only played 11 games. 2021 he only played 14 games. So it's at this point I just feel like you're buying an injury at this point, and who knows whenever those 2 or 3 weeks could be. Because of my luck, if I do go in on Kyler Murray, it's going to be week 14 he gets hurt. It's like, oh well, I went 13-1 in the regular season. Now I'm going to lose in the first round of
First
the playoffs
round
because I don't have a
exit.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's where I stand on Kyler Murray. If he's available, he's great. He's going to be, a QB1, borderline QB1 for fantasy purposes.
Yeah.
But he's just got to stay healthy, and he's missed at least 2 games or 3 games for the past 3 years, and I ain't trying to do that with my QB1 at least on my team. But going into my personal next tier, at QB 12, I have Dak, then Brock, Tua, Bryce Young, and Jared Goff back to back. So I have Bryce at QB 15. I feel like that he can climb into the borderline QB1 territory, but he does need to prove it. He needs to have a better line. They added in a couple of new weapons, and they have Deontay Johnson there. Chuba's starting to come
Mm-hmm.
around. Adam Thielen's still there. He's just, I feel like one hamstring injury away from retiring at this point, though. But where do you, how do you see that tier on my end?
Um, I think it's a good tier. I have Bryce Young a little lower personally. Uh, just because I didn't like you could definitely see the talent, but you cannot see the coaching. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, he does have a new head coach this year too,
Yeah. So that's what
as Matt
I'm
Canal
hoping.
is.
I'm hoping that's where he is because I have him in a league.
Yeah.
So
So he's revitalized. The new head coach they have was the QB coach for Geno 2 years ago.
when he won
He was
comeback.
the yeah. They tried to write me off. I ain't right back that season. And he was also the offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield last year.
Yep.
So he's been revitalizing these people's careers. Maybe he can vitalize Bryce Young's career. So we will see where that ends up. But besides that, where do you have Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy. So I have him in my C tier, but like I said, my B tier was really long, so I had to like kind of make up for it over here. But 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I have him my QB 16, right under Jaden Daniels, but I know you didn't put rookies. I have him at the start of my QB twos. It looks like kind of that like the few QBs above him are like Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, where they're the borderline where like you could definitely see them as a QB1. You wouldn't be surprised. And then Brock Purdy for me is that line of I would be very comfortable to have him as my QB2 because of the weapons around him.
Well, my whole thing is that once a weapon leaves, I feel like the floor is going to fall out from below Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like once George Kittle retires, if Ayuk ends up getting traded this year,
Yeah.
if Debo leaves in free agency, um, if McCaffrey gets hurt, like if any one of those players gets hurt, his fantasy value takes a massive hit. It's like even with the 3 games that Debo missed last year, he went 0-3, and I think threw for like maybe 200 yards
Mm-hmm.
a game. I can look up those stats here real quick. But who do you have in your? I guess that would be your C tier now. I guess you could say.
So I would say the start of my QB2s is Brock Purdy, Jared Goff right after him. Then I have Deshaun Watson right after Jared Goff. Then I would have Kirk Cousins right after Deshaun Watson, and the only reason is because Deshaun Watson still has legs under him. He can still run the ball. He can still get fantasy points that way. Um, then right after that, I have Drake May, and then that's when I get Bryce Young.
Understandable. I'm still pulling up the stats on the Debo and Brock Purdy correlation, but I'm I sell Deshaun Watson. If I had him in any league, I sold him last year while I still could.
Me too.
Really, I sold him before even he got out of suspension because people were offering me like a first round pick and some malarkey. So I'm just like, take me everything, give me whatever you got. Like,
Yeah.
run me your pockets. You want this QB1? I got you. Don't even trip.
I
But
mean, when he was playing fully healthy, he was doing all right. Like he wasn't giving you QB3 numbers by any means, but
Brock's Purdy stats in those 3 games. Cleveland, he scored just under 9 points, QB 25. Against Minnesota, he scored 14.78, QB 16. QB or week 8 against Cincinnati, QB 11, scoring 20 points. So averaging just about 14 points a week. So that's rough, missing one player. And then with the Deshaun Watson, either he can't stay healthy or whenever he is healthy, he just he hasn't showed me anything yet. He's my QB 18 personally.
Mm-hmm.
The first 3 weeks he did good. Then, of course, he got hurt, missed Baltimore and San Francisco, where I think he would have been smashed, in my opinion. Got hurt against Indianapolis again, missed another week, and then played against Arizona QB 8, played against Baltimore, was QB 14. So,
Dude just needs to play.
not bad, but it's just, as I said earlier, best ability is availability. If anyone offered me Deshaun Watson, if I had him on my team and they gave me an offer, I probably would have taken it. I'm just like, I don't care what you got. Give me what you got. I'll take a first round pick. Heck, I'll take 2 second-round picks. Get him off my team.
Before he dies.
But before his shoulder comes out,
Yeah.
before he goes back to the massage parlor again, get him off my team. All right. In my next tier, though, as I mentioned, Bryce Young and Jared Goff are at the end of the B tier. In my C tier, I had Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, and that was it for that tier. This is the last tier of people that I feel semi-comfortable starting at QB 2. Probably should put Deshaun Watson down at 20 because out of the 4, those are rather not have him on my team.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the last people that I feel comfortable starting at this point. Other people I might consider starting a different positional player if I do have that kind of depth on my team over the quarterback. But what's your viewpoint on Kirk Cousins, especially with him coming off of that Achilles tear?
You know, I think if he can come back and perform even 80% of the way he was performing, it should be fine. Like
If
what
he
was
performs at 80%, he's still going to throw for 4,000 yards. That's the crazy part about it.
Yeah. I mean, even if he throws for 3,500, that's still good. You're
It's
still
further than any quarterback that Kyle Pitts has had,
Yep.
or Drake London, your
Yep.
Lord and Savior himself.
Yep. That's just what I think. And it's a if, but I think he will. I think he will. I mean, he's also what 35.
He's
So,
old.
yeah. I have Kirk Cousins and then I have Aaron Rodgers a few people below that. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, if you do have either of those quarterbacks, if you're contending, you could try to ride them out or write them out. But if you're rebuilding and someone sends you an offer, what's the lowest you would take for either of them?
wow. I would never put myself in that position. I'm not like that. So, I would have already sold him a long time ago, probably. Um,
Kirk, I might have stayed on. Aaron Rodgers, I probably would have traded whenever he got moved to Jets just for the hype.
if they were my QB2, I would be stressed. Like, I would probably just go full rebuild mode. Fuck it. We're
You're
going
like,
full rebuild. I'm done.
get me out of here.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yeah. I couldn't, honestly, I couldn't tell you a price point.
Would you take a high second?
Like 201? 201 to 203
203. Yeah.
for Aaron Rodgers? Yeah.
Or Kirk Cousins.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah. I would do it.
Kirk Cousins would take a little bit more, maybe the 112.
Yeah, I think I could do that.
I
Maybe.
feel it. And then my other question is Baker Mayfield. Are you trying to buy him at all? And if so, what's the max that you'd buy him for?
Who's asking?
I don't have any Baker Mayfield shares.
If he was my QB3, then I would feel comfortable with him being my QB3, like very comfortable. He has a contract, and
Well,
last year he performed pretty well.
would you buy him though at all?
Uh,
Like you had your top 2 quarterbacks and you needed a third, maybe.
I wouldn't go and get him for a first. If I had my top if I already had my 2 super flex quarterbacks, I wouldn't offer a first for Baker Mayfield.
Not even for the 112.
If it was solidified 112, if you could sit here and tell me it's a solidified 112, then yeah, I'll do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is off season. It should be solidified by now.
I was thinking next season, but yeah.
This is the off season for this year. I'm talking right now,
Right, meow.
before the rookie draft starts. Right now.
Yeah, I'd do it.
Okay. Who do you have in your next year?
My next tier would be the D tier. It would be starting with Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers, then Matthew Stafford, and that's it.
Just three people.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think? How much longer do you think Matt Stafford has? I say one decent year, and then he just falls off a cliff.
I think max 2.
Yeah, that's. Let's say at this point, if you have Matt Stafford, you've been playing with him for a while. You're playing on borrowed time. I feel like at this point, with all the shoulder injuries he's had, he's gonna start throwing balls like Drew Brees here shortly, and just throw it 10 yards downfield. But it's rough. He's got the weapons at least, but it's rough. My next tier. So after Matt Stafford, I have Will Levis, Geno, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson. Call me a homer if you want for the 2 years that he gave us. They were very mid. But he actually looked good last year as a game manager, at least.
Yeah, wasn't he like a QB2 last year? That's not bad.
He was
A
like
high
QB 14.
High
or
end
something
QB2.
like that.
That's good.
Yeah, like, if I have him as my QB3 and he's a spot start
Oh, yeah. I'm
quarterback,
happy.
yeah, I'm not mad at it. Wouldn't be ecstatic, but I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was QB 14 last year while missing 2 weeks, so
that's good.
he was borderline QB1, baby. But yeah, those Aaron Rodgers, we'll see what happens with him having if he stays healthy. Doesn't tear his Achilles on the 4th play of the season again. We'll see what happens if he can actually have a full season with Garrett Wilson as well as Brees Hall. Because he's got 2 weapons himself, but outside of those two, I mean, no one else has really impressed me.
And they're talking about
Elijah Moore was
drafting a wide receiver too.
Elijah Moore was impressive while he was there, but then of course he got traded to Cleveland.
How much
So
would
now Elijah,
Garrett Wilson's value go down if they drafted a wide receiver too in the first round?
I don't think by much.
You don't think
I
so?
think people are still riding the hype train. Personally,
If for
they
some
might drop
reason,
maybe 1 or 2 wide receiver spots, but
if for
they
some
somehow
reason,
go get like Malik Neighbors or Marvin
yeah,
Harrison.
no, that's too much.
Yeah,
Rome
he'd be
Odunze, eh.
no. I'm not sold on Rome personally.
You still think he's top 10?
Garrett Wilson?
Mm-hmm.
I would think he was top 10 in general for the most part.
Mm.
We'll talk about that next week or 2
Mm.
weeks from now. But Garrett Wilson, he's
He hasn't.
maybe
He's
right below
the
10.
he's the uncrowned king, and he's never been king. You know.
Right. I mean, people keep labeling him as like him, but he hasn't had any him moments. They keep talking about him like he's like a Justin Jefferson who could perform with anybody, but he didn't perform that well. Like he's even with bad quarterbacks, he's been mid. But the wide receivers that are him, they perform no matter who's there. Like DeAndre Hopkins, they can
Yeah,
have me at quarterback. He's still gonna get you 20 fantasy points.
dude, he's going round 12 consistently.
I mean, the last 2 years, he's Garrett Wilson has been wide receiver 21 and wide receiver 26. I'm pumping the brakes on Garrett Wilson.
That's why I sold
I'll
him.
be a year late on him. That's fine. I'd rather not draft him in the 2nd round, 3rd round of startup drafts.
Anyway, back to
That's my
quarterbacks.
opinion. Yeah.
But I agree.
So, with any of those quarterbacks, like with Will Levis, would you try to go out and get him potentially if you're looking for a
Dude,
QB3?
I last year I tried, dude, and I'm so glad that Mason said no, but I tried to give him a first for Will Levis after the first game he went off. And Mason
had
was
the 4 touchdown game.
and Mason was like, "I'll hold," and I was like, oh, "All right, dude, whatever." But now looking back on it, I'm like, you know what? I was just on the hype train, and that's it. I was post nut clarity now. It's taking over.
Had a no November to think about it.
Yeah, dude.
But the last question I really have: what is the last quarterback you would use to spend a first round pick on?
Ooh.
Like, who, if it was just one first round pick, who would be the last quarterback that you'd be like, I'm not giving you a first for them?
I think on that line is like I would definitely buy Baker Mayfield now that I think about it, and now
Like,
that
we're
I
talking
actually,
just 112. Like,
yeah, I'm actually gonna live. I'm gonna move Baker Mayfield up a tier
oh,
because I did say that he just got that new contract and he did do good last year, and I just convinced myself. I'm like, wait, he did get the new contract, so I'm gonna move him up one tier. But the last
crazy.
quarterback, wow, I think it would be Baker Mayfield because I wouldn't want a 1 year rental with Aaron. I mean, like, if it's midseason and Aaron Rodgers is producing like a QB2 and I absolutely need it, then yeah, I'll do it. If I'm a
Desperate
contender,
times comes from desperate
yeah,
measures.
it just depends on the timing.
I mean, I'm just talking as of right now
As
today.
of right now, it would just be Baker Mayfield, and I'd be comfortable with that.
I feel it. I think my last one would probably be Baker as well. It's like if I needed a quarterback as well, I'd probably look at. I wouldn't mind spending it first on Jared Goff or Bryce Young, especially not like Bryce Young or Jared Goff, but like Baker. I couldn't do it on Kirk. I couldn't do it on Deshaun Watson. Matt Stafford's too old. Will Levis, I would spend it first, but I would need like a wide receiver three on top of it. But I could see Baker Mayfield. Um, do you have any other tiers for your quarterbacks? I know you
Yeah.
have like the whole shebang of top 50 quarterbacks of all time over there. I will say, I'll say my honorable mentions real quick of people
Yeah.
that are just missing my top 24. Justin Fields,
Mhm.
he's someone that I might consider buying low on now and just holding him for a year and seeing what the Pittsburgh Steelers do with him after that. Uh, Vanilla Vic himself, Daniel Jones, if he is a starter next year in the New York, he has rushing upside,
Yeah.
but we'll have to see if New York drafts a weapon for him or not. Because Sterling Shepard and whoever else they have on that team is not cutting it. Sam Howell could be a quarterback, especially with Seattle having a new regime. He could be a quarterback that takes over Geno Smith's job if Geno Smith doesn't produce the first few weeks.
Mhm.
Then whoever starts in Oakland, I like Gardner Minshew. We all love the porn stash. But if Minshew starts, I'd be pretty high on him. McConnell, not so much. But Minshew, I'd probably put right there next to Russell Wilson at like 25.
That's exactly where I have them. I have them back to back. Russell Wilson and Gardner Minshew.
Mm-hmm. See, we talk about football a lot. We know what we like. But who's your next tier?
So my next tier is J.J. McCarthy and Russell Wilson, and then it's just those two in that tier. Then right under is Gardner Minshew,
Mm-hmm.
um, Derek Carr, just because he's a starter, Will Levis, Geno, and then Justin Fields is at the end of that tier list. Would you buy 205 or Justin Fields?
I'd probably take Justin Fields.
Right? Because when he plays, it's elite fantasy output.
Oh yeah, I mean if he plays, if the defense is able to contain him, he's QB 30. If he's able to run wild, QB 1 by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of his value came from his legs, and with him being in a new system where they're not just like look downfield, no one's open, run, and they actually built a system around his legs, he could be really good. That's what Ohio State did, but for some reason Chicago does not know how to do that.
Poverty
So
franchise.
poverty franchise is turning it around for a new quarterback that we hope, our
Yeah, I
Lord
mean,
and Savior, Caleb Williams.
it's built. It's built. It's definitely there.
But Russell Wilson, would you trade 205 for Russell Wilson?
You
And
see,
if you wouldn't, it's just because of age,
that's a
especially if
hard
it's on a
one.
1 year deal.
Yeah, it's a hard one because that's a 1 year deal, and if like Russell Wilson has a 3 game stretch where he's not doing good, then they just might be like, Justin Fields, go.
Let's see what you got, kid.
Yeah, Russell Wilson threw 3 interceptions this game, and it's the second quarter. It's the third quarter. Justin Fields, bye, go in,
Go crazy.
tap him on
Go
the
get 100
butt,
rushing yards real quick.
tap him on the butt, and go run the ball, brother. Go play garbage time.
Go play garbage time. Get us 25 fantasy points in garbage time real quick.
Then in the tier after that, I have Jacoby Brissett, Sam Darnold, Aiden O'Connell, which is like, I don't. If you can pick him up off the waiver wire, then that's what I did. I'm not trading for those kids. You know what I mean?
Not even the 312?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, then it's a trade.
But then in the tier under that, I just have some rookies because they're not really talked about. Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler, Joe Milton. Um, I haven't, at least that I've seen in immediate news, where like, a team is actually thinking about, well, we need to pick this player right here, or
Mm.
no certainty with it. Along with I have JJ McCarthy over Russell Wilson, by the way, and behind Matthew Stafford. I forgot to
Yeah, we
mention
heard
that
that.
earlier.
You mentioned it.
Okay. Um, but yeah, that's the end of my. Oh, and then Daniel Jones is at the end of that one.
Behind all the rookies.
Yeah, he's last.
You don't like Vanilla Vic?
Dude, I was bought in on Daniel Jones last year, and one of my friends was like, "Dude, he's so bad." Blah blah blah. I'm like, "Bro, he finished as like, what was he, like QB 8 last year or something crazy?"
Something like that.
And then I was like, "Dude, he's QB 8 last year in
Brian
fantasy."
Dayball did this with Josh Allen. Like it's happening. It's the Renaissance.
And then like he did good the first game last season, and I was like, "Oh, Nick." And then I was like, "No."
You're right. My bad.
He did good fantasy wise because they got their
Yeah.
shit rocked by the Cowboys.
Yeah. Week 1 he got robbed. Week 2 he was QB1.
Yeah, QB 2. I mean QB 1 week 2.
Against Arizona.
Wow.
The Giants were able to beat Arizona, but the Cowboys couldn't. Crazy story.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
Cowboys doing the Cowboys thing.
Yeah.
But enough about the Cowboys. We're gonna go ahead. Do you have any other questions about quarterbacks
Um.
or anything else you want to add about quarterbacks?
Not really. Do you? Anything you want to add?
Except my trade for Bryce Young.
I'll think about it.
Besides that, no.
I'll think
Uh,
about it.
you said that earlier. You haven't told me anything.
I know. I just
Tight end tier list.
let's do it.
In the Sam tier, we have Sam Laporta. In the Trey tier, we have Trey McBride. These are my top
That's
2 tiers.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how I have mine.
Yeah, they're just. I just feel like they're heads above everybody else,
Yep.
mainly due to age and just situations. Like even with Sam Laporta having a top 10 wide receiver fantasy wise on his team, he was still able to perform as the best tight end in the league. Especially if, as we mentioned last week in the other episode, talking about draft strategy, if your league has a 2.0 tight end premium, I am scooping up Sam Laporta possibly in the back end of the first, top of the second for sure. But that's just how I feel about it. How do you
Yeah.
feel about Sam Laporta?
Um, and these mock drafts I do, it's mostly 1.5 tight end premium, and I usually go QB in the first 2 rounds, and I will pick him up in anywhere in the third round. 301, give me Sam Laporta.
I'm taking him back into the second, so he ain't
Oh
going
yeah,
to the third.
yeah,
If I have the 103, I'm taking him 210. Screw it. I don't care what's there.
really. Even if there's a third round reversal.
Either there's a third round, especially if there's a third round reversal. Because I ain't getting him at that point.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Well, you could get Trey McBride. Get your
Then I'm not in
QB.
the Sam tier. I'm in the Trey tier.
You need the
But
tier.
Sam Laporta, A1 since day one. Trey McBride. For the people that kicked him to the curb onto waivers, I scooped him up immediately. And now I have the top 2 tight ends of fantasy football. So it's great.
Yep.
Who's in your not top 2 tiers?
My B tier is gonna be Mark Andrews, Brock Bowers, and Dalton Kincaid. In that order.
In that order?
Yes, that's how I rank them.
All right. I have Mark Andrews, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid. Then I have Travis Kelce. If I had Bowers, I'd probably put him there. might put him just below Kyle Pitts. So I do want to see where he goes first.
Yeah.
If he does go to the San Diego, like everyone's like kind of mocking him to, probably put him over Mark Andrews because he would be basically option one on that team. But as of now, probably between Kyle Pitts and Dalton Kincaid at 5.
Mhm.
But especially with Dalton Kincaid losing the Diggs targets, it's like 150 targets that's going to have to get dispersed on the team. And I can't name a wide receiver on the Bills now at this point. Matt Collins. He's wide receiver 2 probably.
That's terrible, man.
So for all the people that are the Josh Allen lovers that say that he could do it without any wide receivers, if they don't pick one, we go and learn this year what Josh Allen's all about. But who do you have in your next tier? Or actually, Travis Kelsey. Let's talk about him real quick. When would it in startup drafts? I'm probably pretty sure that neither one of us would draft Travis Kelsey unless he just fell astronomically down the board. But where would you consider drafting him if you were on a win in year two or a productive struggle kind of team? Like, are you just bypassing him no matter what, or
Gosh,
'cause I
you'd
feel
have
like
to.
by the time Travis Kelsey comes up in drafts, you probably know what you're doing draft strategy wise, anyways.
Yeah. Man, it would have to be like round 9 or 10 if I want to get him, and that's like low. That's like why is he there?
Yeah, like y'all are dumb at this point.
Yeah. And you know what? I would much I would much I would like to brag on myself real quick. Mid-season this past season, I gave Travis Kelsey for Jordan Love straight up.
I mean, at the beginning of the season, I sold Travis Kelsey for 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But um, enough of that. So, who do you have in your next year? Before I rudely interrupted you, because I know you mentioned you had Laporta, McBride, Andrews, and Kincaid off the board.
My C tier, I have Kyle Pitts at the top, Travis Kelsey, then T.J. Hawkinson. I have him low because you don't know who the quarterback's going to be, and he's going to be the third option coming off an ACL surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so roast me if you want, but I was on, I was watching a podcast on like a live podcast, and I typed. They were like, "Oh, T.J. Hawkinson at the beginning of round 4 is awesome," and I'm like, "Dude,
Are you sure about that? Are
he's
you sure about that?
he's coming back next season, mid-season at best, and he's gonna be the third option on that team."
With
And
Sam Darnold throwing him the ball.
yeah, and this dude was. I could tell he's a little salty about it. He was typing back real fast and real furious. But that's
You know
just
what you're talking about, kid.
that's just my dude. That's look. Hey, you take T.J. Hawkinson in the fourth. Okay,
I'll
go
let
ahead.
you.
Yeah, you go ahead. And then I have George Kittle, David Njoku, Evan Ingram, and Jake Ferguson at the end of the C tier.
I feel it. So in my, I guess to be my B tier. Here I have it. Or actually, be my C tier as well. I only got Hawkinson and Kittle there by themselves. So I feel like everyone below tight end 8, as I kind of mentioned earlier in the episode, uh, it's kind of pick your color of tight end at this point. They'll probably maybe average you 10 points a week. They'll have their one random week where they pop off for 20 because they caught a touchdown, maybe two.
Yeah, it's like Jake
But
Ferguson.
yeah, but like in my B tier, I have Evan Ingram, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goddard, David Njoku at 12, Cole Kmet, and then Pat Fryermuth.
Mhm. Dude,
The reason
Evan,
why I'm so low
what do
on
you?
Njoku personally is he only performed with Joe Flacco.
Yes. Yep.
He hasn't performed at all whenever Deshaun Watson played at quarterback, so that's why I'm like, if he's there, like I guess I'll start him. So basically, all these tight ends here, outside of Evan Ingram, maybe. I'm like, I guess I'll start him this week and kind of see where it goes.
Yeah. I really like Evan Ingram coming into this year because they got rid of Calvin Ridley, and they might just roll with Christian Kirk again, but I don't know what they'll do. But if that happens, then Evan Ingram will have a good year, another good year,
Hmm.
and
And
you
then
can get
Jake
him.
Ferguson.
You can get him in the ninth round, by the way. Evan Ingram.
Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, Jake Ferguson, he's kind of turning into option number 2 at this point because we don't know what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do at running back at this point. Are they going to actually roll with Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn? That's yet to be answered. They might draft the running back in the draft,
Jonathan Brooks.
but Jonathan Brooks. You're not a Trey Benson stan?
I'd much rather have Jonathan Brooks, but he should. They said he would be back like by game 4 or something like that. And the same person who did his knee surgery is the Cowboys surgeon as well.
The more you know. But yeah, like with Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert, those two especially, they can have those big games. Probably have it more frequently than Cole Kmet and Pat Fryermuth do. But I feel like all these tight ends, you're putting them in there. If they score 20, cool. If not, then you got an average starting tight end that scored you 8 points.
You weren't expecting much anyway.
Yeah. Then in my C tier, I have Isaiah Likely, then Michael Mayer, Luke Musgrave, Dalton Schultz, Chika Conquo, and Greg Dulcich. Uh, I'm really super in personally on Isaiah Likely. Honestly, I'd probably take him above Cole Kmet and Pat Fryermuth in startup drafts. As I mentioned, I'm kind of going to win in year 2 mode, usually in startup drafts. And he's a big target that every time Mark Andrews has missed, he is hit in a big way,
Yeah.
scoring like 15, 20 points a week. So, I mean, it's even gotten to this point where if it's a contingency plan and the Ravens want to offload some cap space and a team needs a tight end, they might end up trading like Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely because they have 2 probably top 10 tight ends in the league right now. But what's your opinion on Likely at this point?
Um, he's definitely a good player to draft later, where he goes below even Michael Mayer. So I could see him if he gets traded somewhere. I could see him being a big producer, as well as if Mark Andrews misses more time, or if they trade him away for cap space, like you said, he would just fill it. He would fill that gap pretty well, like he
Then you
has.
mentioned Michael Mayer. What's kind of your thought on him? Because like I know we've seen all these young tight ends now break out, whether it's year 2 or year 1 with Laporta. I know most tight ends usually need a little turbulence in the mud before they get started. What's your opinion on like where's the ceiling for Michael Mayer this season in your opinion?
I think it depends on quarterback play.
Mm-hmm. But like say everything's good, whatever the starting quarterback is, they throw for 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns.
Tight end 12.
That's the ceiling for him.
I think it
Borderline tight end 1.
yeah.
With how bad tight ends are this year or at this time in fantasy football, I could see him maybe climbing as high as 10 just because of how bad the position is.
Yeah.
But I don't see him breaking past the Evan Ingram level, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I could see him jumping to the B tier, but I don't see him jumping to, that superstar level just yet. It's yet to be seen because some tight ends, they take 3 or 4 years to get started. But we'll see on him. But who do you have in your next tier? Have you already gone over your tiers?
So my D tier would start with Pat Fryermuth, then Cole Kmet, Dallas Goedert, Michael Mayer, Isaiah Likely, and it would end with Luke Musgrave.
Not shabby. With Luke Musgrave, the only thing that makes me skeptical about him is that somehow the Packers have drafted like 8 good wide receivers now somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
And
I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
yeah, dude.
Between Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, even Bo Melton had like a 2 touchdown game last year.
You're missing the best wide
And then plus
receiver.
with
You're
and then
missing
plus with
Jaden
them
Reed.
also signing Josh Jacobs. Oh yeah, Jaden Reed. See, there's 5 wide receivers I named. I can actually name 5 Packers wide receivers.
Yeah,
I can't
now.
name 5 Bills wide receivers. But with that being said, uh, Luke Musgrave, where is he going to fit into that? Like,
I don't know, and that's why I have in the next tier I have Tucker Craft right behind him, like back to back. I don't know what the hell they're gonna
yeah,
do.
he's my honorable mention tight end. Uh, but it's really tough for Luke Musgrave as well as Dalton Schultz at this point. That's why I have him so low. Is where are they going to fit in with all the talent they have at the positions now? So, I mean, the Texans have 3 possible wide receiver ones. Uh, Green Bay just has a plethora of wide receivers to throw to now at this point. If Christian Watson can stay healthy, he could end up being a wide receiver one. He has the potential. He has the talent for it. He has the speed, but he has 2 hamstrings that don't work. And apparently, he's going to some University of Wisconsin doctor to figure out what's going on. So, we shall see. But who is in your honorable mention tier, or your super F tier?
So my last tier it started with Tucker Craft. Then it my last tight end is sorry, my last two are Jatavian Sanders, and then right after that, my dark horse of them all, I'm calling it right now. Noah Fant will be a top 15 tight end next season.
Ooh,
Then that's not
ooh,
saying much, but like, you know what I mean?
ooh, the spice. It's getting spicy. He's throwing some paprika on it. He said, "Not so hot take because the position is bad.
Yeah,
The top 15 because he's coming." But on mine, I have Tucker Craft, Jawan Johnson, and Noah Fant. Noah Fant, as you mentioned, he looked good in Denver for times. Like he'd have the games where he would score like 20 points for 3 weeks in a row. Then he would just disappear off the face of the earth for like 5 weeks in a row.
yeah.
And then Tucker Craft, as you kind of mentioned, he's right behind Luke Musgrave. It's weird drafting 2 tight ends in the same draft class, but for some reason the Packers felt like they had to do it. And Luke Musgrave did have a big injury history, if I'm not mistaken, in college. So he could end up missing time this year. And then Jawan Johnson, he was a deep sleeper last year for me. I'm still not off of that horse yet. But he's someone that could end up catching 10 touchdowns just because of his size. He's a big body tight end. Derek Carr loves his big bodies. And we could see what happens in New Orleans next year. But don't expect much out of him. He's, as I mentioned, very, very deep sleeper. That man's in a coma, and we'll see if he wakes up. But do you have anything else you want to add to today's episode, sir?
um, I don't think his value moved any, but if it did, go buy Josh Allen.
I mean, if it did go down, it's not going to go down
If you
much.
get a 10% discount, go get it.
Like,
I'm
let me
not
see
sell.
him play 3 bad weeks.
I wouldn't sell him for a discount, but I'm just saying.
That's just me, though.
Yeah.
I'd say instead of paying for 3 first-round picks in a second, you could just do 3 first-round picks now.
Oh, and go go buy Rasheed Rice for the 203. I would
Rest
do
in
that.
peace with She Wright's career.
I would do it.
I mean, screw it. I'd buy him for the any kind of second-round pick besides maybe 201.
I would do it. I'd gamble.
Taking shots.
Yeah.
Let me buy Rasheed Rice off of you for 203.
Oh.
No,
I'm buying him for the 203. I'm not selling him for the 203.
come on, it'd be cool. But anyways, with that being said, that's the end of the episode. I hope y'all enjoyed listening to us. If y'all have any questions, of course, feel free to comment or you can even message one of us. We're always here to talk sports. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you're listening to on any kind of media platforms. We're here for you. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And we hope y'all have a good night.
Good night.
Peace out.